Let me pull up this story we got from Timcast.com. Almost 400 gallons of gas stolen from North Carolina gas station. This is but one specific moment, but it's part of a series of stories that I've been seeing throughout the past week or so where people are showing up and stealing gas. One of the craziest was that a van pulls up to a gas pump and they have the intake on the ground and the van had a trap door. Pulls up to the pump. While they're pumping gas, they open the trap door and hook into the gas station's reservoir to steal gas because gas prices are so high. Now there's a meme. I think whether you find it in good or bad taste, it's from when Kyle Rittenhouse was crying in court, but now it's him at a gas station crying, holding up a gas pump, crying about the price of gas. And you know why I like the meme? Because it's people who don't like Kyle Rittenhouse making fun of Joe Biden and what's happening with gas in this country and all that stuff. So I highlight this story just to show the level of strain that we're currently experiencing for a variety of reasons when it comes to energy. And I want to give a reminder to everybody that when these climate change activists say they want to end fossil fuels, that pain you're feeling at the pump where you're joking about how you're crying as you spend $100 to fill your car up, it's going to be $200, $300 to fill your car up when the climate change activists get their way. Now I'm not saying, I'm not passing moral judgment on climate change activism. I'm saying if you want fossil fuels to be done with, that's fine, but don't complain about, $300 to fill up your gas tank or you not driving anymore.
Well, look, you have to have fossil fuels for our military and for it's national security. A good energy supply, and y'all may not know this, but Texas is number one wind energy state in the country. We're number two in solar panels, right? And we produce a lot of the nation's fuel, oil, and gas. And I didn't say this earlier, but the Keystone Pipeline comes into my district. It moves 830,000 barrels of crude a day. Remember when the Colonial Pipeline system got hacked into last year? I don't know, April or May.
It was a disaster.
The southeast part of the United States. That pipeline system moves a little less than 3 million barrels of product a day. So when the Colonial Pipeline system is 830,000 barrels, it's over 1/4 of the output of the Colonial Pipeline system coming into Texas so that we can refine it, we can sell oil, gasoline, produce jobs, whether it's jet fuel, whatever it might be. The Biden people shut that down on day one. We wouldn't be in such a bad strait with Ukraine if the fossil fuel people hadn't been doing such a number the anti-fossil fuels.
Right.
They hate it. It may just be me, but can you power a jet fighter plane with a solar panel? I don't think so.
Well, let's talk about that disaster that happened when Texas froze over.
Absolutely.
And we had the mainstream media saying, oh, the freeze did not affect wind energy. They're lying. We had people on the right saying, well, the wind turbines were struggling to work in the cold. So can you tell us a bit about how that disaster happened?
Absolutely. You hear the term ERCOT, Electric Reliability Council of Texas.
Yes.
There's 9 electric grids in the United States. Texas has its own. Did I mention in Texas things were bigger and better? But 85% of the state is under ERCOT. The other 50%, which a lot of it's in my district, by the way, Entergy, which does energy company, which does a great job. So again, growing up 20-mile radius, 68 years, I've never seen it be 18 degrees in Galveston. So there was a lot of fossil fuel plants, natural gas. We have a lot of natural gas that were shut down normally in the wintertime for maintenance, right? Because our biggest supply for need for electricity is in the summer. Summers in Texas are hot, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so they shut down for maintenance. It was so cold that a lot of those plants who weren't set up for frozen pipes because it doesn't get that cold, some of their water system froze and then they couldn't keep pumping, even the ones that weren't down for maintenance. Windmills did break. And here's a little bit of the technical part. ERCOT has to manage the electricity on the grid. It goes by hertz cycles, 60 hertz cycles. And I don't remember the exact number, but if after all of this power consumption is being done, if it starts dropping down to 59 point something or whatever it is, if it gets to a certain degree, then it'll backfeed and it'll burn the windings in the generators in the systems that are online.
Wow.
And so they've got to shut down neighborhoods and power grids without warning because they're watching it in real time. They go, okay, we're 10 minutes away. You can't email and you can't send out letters. You can't knock on doors. You can't phone call people. That's what happened to us last year. One of the things that would help with that would be, let me back up. Nuclear power. The left hates nuclear power. If we had
For no reason.
For no reason. You want to talk about green energy?
It's zero carbon emission energy.
Right.
It's safe.
Right.
It's remarkable how people watch Hollywood films and now they're like, I don't want clean, reliable energy. It's
Right.
remarkable.
But Tim, I saw the three-eyed cartoon fish on The Simpsons.
Yes.
That's right.
So
Oh,
we can't have
yeah.
nuclear
That's
power.
that's a big help, right? You know.
And the Soviets were doing an experiment which caused an explosion. So now none of us ever can have clean, reliable energy.
When I was in the Texas legislature, I had South Texas Nuclear Project in my district over in Matagorda County. I took my staff in there in 2010, and we watched them with our own eyes change out spent fuel rods. It was fascinating. They do it cleanly. They do it safely. They're back up and running, Unit 1 and Unit 2.
And they're recycling the rods.
Well, they don't do it like France. In full disclosure, we don't do as
like
good a
France.
job as France does, but we can learn that. And think about how crazy it is. We had Yucca Mountain set aside, and I've been to a nuclear waste facility in Andrews, Texas, and I was waste control specialty, and they have a fantastic concrete, all the state-of-art stuff to put in low-level radiation waste. And so we've got Yucca Mountain, which was designed to do that, where you could take it away from almost every town, every city, in a facility that was going to be run by the federal government, where it would be safe. And so the libs didn't want that. The Democrats didn't want that. They fought against it. And so what do? They store that now they store spent nuclear waste right on site in all the neighborhoods. Oh, that's so smart.
Well, let me.
Isn't it-
I'll make a few quick points.
Sure.
Is the importance of nuclear power. So one of the challenges is that it's not always windy. So
That's right.
Wind power sometimes can reduce production gets reduced.
Sure.
Often I will see wind turbines not even spinning.
That's right.
When it comes to solar at night, you have an issue.
I'm thinking the sun goes down at night. How about
That's
you?
right, it
Yeah,
does.
Sure.
So a lot of these renewable energies are intermittent in terms of their generation.
Right.
So fossil fuels is reliable, but so is nuclear power.
Absolutely.
And nuclear power, it's fascinating because zero carbon emissions. But for some reason, they reject it. It makes me wonder if what you were saying before, they want you dependent upon them so they can stay in power. They always want there to be a problem only they can fix.
Right.
Correct.
If you're watching the geopolitical thing going back to Russia and Ukraine right now, they've had a misinformation program going on against fossil fuel. You know, the left has had it for a long time, funneled by Russian money. And the statistics are that Russia has increased their nuclear fleet by 30%. And Germany has cut theirs by 80%.
Yep.
And now Europe is going to be dependent on Russia, and they've planned that all along. And their Russian disinformation program is trying to knock out our fossil fuels. There's a lot of NGOs over here, and anti-fracking, anti-pipeline,
Anti-shell exploration.
anti-shell, NGOs, or you call it what you want to call it, 501c.
501c3.
I can do this. And they've got money. It's been tracked. It's been documented.
I do have that story. We'll pull it up in a second, though.
Sure.
But just exploring, a little bit of energy as it pertains to Texas. I'm confused as to what the complaint really was from the left as to what Texas did wrong. It just seemed like the only real issue they had was exploit the crisis and claim we have the solutions to it. When in reality, it seems like a freak accident.
Let me tell you what I heard right off the bat. Again, I've got probably the most energy dominant sector. Now, there's production over in West Texas where they drill and they produce and they send it down to pipelines, but we're ports and refineries and we export a lot of it. People call me and said, Randy, this is why ERCOT shouldn't be allowed to control the Texas grid. It ought to be the federal government, And I said, are you kidding me? I said, are you kidding me? I said, we've got a state agency called ERCOT, and a lot of them live here, and they shop, their kids go to school, and they do all this stuff here. And you want some Washington bureaucrat? This was out of their control. We've never had this cold of a winter. This is the perfect storm. And the state agency, it was tough for them. And the legislatures, when they met, they went in and they did the things to harden that grid, so to speak. You want to give it to some bureaucrat in Washington, D.C.? No, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I'll remind you that Randy is the leading minority. He's the
Republican
ranking member on Energy Subcommittee for Science, Space, and Technology. So he's
So when the Republicans win in November, you're going to be the
I'll be the chairman of the Energy Subcommittee.
Good.
I just want to throw I want to throw this in there. I'm glad you brought Russia up because I find it really hilarious how all of the people who are against nuclear power and want to demonize it are also really comfortable with the idea of going to war with a nation that is armed with nukes. If
so
we're talking
strange.
about what's going to be more likely to result in nuclear annihilation.
It's frustrating.
Oh,
give me the answer straight. If someone, here's what I was saying before. If someone comes to me and they say, I don't like fossil fuels. Carbon emissions are bad. I'll say, okay, but gas is going to be extremely expensive for the average person. The average person won't be able to commute. Then they start saying, oh, that's not true. And they just lie. They lie. I had somebody on Facebook saying, I have no problem paying $5 a gallon for gas because I have a clean conscience and Ukraine is the suffering. And then I talk about how Biden is causing this, and they just lie. No, he's not. Biden actually has no ability to change the prices. And I'm like, he ended these oil and gas leases over climate change lawsuits. He's shut down Keystone, which is going to affect supply and demand. He's absolutely had an impact on these things. Strategic oil reserves, he has a lot of power to change these things. He's absolutely responsible, not for literally everything, but as our leader, right. And his actions, yes. But people lie. They lie. That's what I can't stand.
They also don't know how dirty it is to actually produce the green energy. They have no idea how much, how these rechargeable batteries and things like that, they sit there and
here's
last
one.
Forever. How much it is?
Someone posted. There's a meme going around. It's been on Twitter and Facebook, and it says the cost to produce wind energy has gone up $0.00 since the war in Russia and Ukraine. I said that's not true. The cost of petro lubricants for these have gone up. You're lying. Stop lying to me. Just tell me the truth. I can't take it.
So not only that, Tim, but think about this. In our ports, did I mention we've got 7 ports more than any other member of Congress? Yeah. And by the way, we have strategic petroleum reserves, about 60% of the nation's. And why is that called strategic petroleum reserves? It's in our district because it's strategic. You want to keep that oil there until you need it for a strategic reason. Mm-hmm. Don't just release it. So you want to try to get out underneath owning the fact that you've increased the price of fuel. But I will
say releasing it didn't even do anything to drive down prices anyway.
Barely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we use 20 million a day.
Yeah.
Windmills come through our ports. And guess what they come on the back of when they get moved from the port into the 18-wheelers? And guess what? Guess what 18-wheelers burn? Oh, I know, diesel.
Yeah, I have no problem saying that wind turbines are fantastic, in my opinion. You said Texas
number one wind energy.
Number one. It's awesome. It's awesome. But just stop lying to me about everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wind is not an end-all, be-all solution. We need, when it comes to solar and wind, we need massive battery industrial-sized battery systems for storage.
Rare earth minerals, where are we going to get those?
How do you get them?
Alaska.
Yeah.
Well, Alaska does, Africa some, but right now China, a lot of the components are from our friends in China.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And rare earths actually aren't necessarily rare. Right. We just need to start being self-sufficient in the United States.
How about making it easier to drill, easier to dig, permits to mine? How about the federal government move out of the way and let entrepreneurs and companies do their job?
I feel like it's because for a lot of these Democrats, they need to make sure there's a problem that they can only be the ones to solve.
Yes. And we're heavily subsidizing the green energy industry in general, where they were supposed to like not have their subsidies renewed, and yet they came back to us a second time and asked to have them renewed, and so we're paying for that. If it is sustainable and it is what society demands and what the market demands, then we shouldn't have to be subsidizing them.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.